Thank you. This is Open Mic. We are back. And I now ask Mr. Devaux for another contribution towards the unemployment situation in St. Lucia.
Unemployment here now stands at about 25%. Whether those figures are fully accurate or not, I don't know, but they're figures we have to work with. And of that 25%, the figure relating to unemployment among the younger people, the under 20s, is approaching 50%. And this obviously is a recipe for social disaster, unless it is fixed. Without foreign investment coming in, the most immediate thing we can do is to aim at boosting agriculture, somehow or other trying to absorb some of these unemployed young people in agricultural schemes, be it a land army, a revisitation of the STEP program, whereby the STEP program people are seconded onto farms, in a selective way to help the farmers. And all in all, in fact today there was a very interesting article in The Voice which purported to show that there was the beginning of a movement sponsored by, in this case I think it was Consolidated Foods, yes, to get young people, schools on the land, so that the upcoming generation can realize that agriculture is a proud industry and not anything to be associated with servitude. It's a proud industry, it's a scientific industry, and it's an industry that we ignore at our peril, because the nation that cannot feed itself is a nation in danger when catastrophe hits the world in the form of wars or droughts, and there are plenty of droughts abroad. But not only should we be able to feed ourselves, we ought to be able to propagate crops that on a selective basis can be pushed for export to take the place of bananas, and I'm certain that there are crops around which can be moved, can be grown on our soil, although we don't have much in the way of flat land. The flat land we do have in the valleys, the Dennery, cul-de-sac, except for the flooding, Roseau and others, is very good soil and can be very, very productive. We've done it with bananas. Why can't we do it with agriculture to get some of these younger people off the streets? And the beginning has to be some type of vocational school, or I use the word land army, a non-militarized army of young people who will dedicate, a lot of them, their future lives to replacing the older farmers who now have worn themselves out and can't get help on the land. They need assistance, which is where the STEP program comes in. I think this is possibly the easiest way to get people back on the land to mop up a good chunk of that unemployment.
Right, while you were talking about the agricultural sector, I don't know whether you can agree with me. For 40 years, bananas carried us through in many ways. And in my view, that people understand how to plant bananas. And they also aware of the fact that there is a market for bananas. And many farmers I have spoken to feel definitely and very, very strongly that they would like to go back into the banana industry. Okay, because of the unfortunate floodings we've had through Thomas and through the December trough, many of their fields were destroyed. And I want to commend the government for one thing which was done recently, where they assisted a farmer back into the poultry business. But I feel honestly that they should revisit their donors abroad, where they could bring in some equipment, for all the equipment that they lost, and on an aid basis to bring them back into the banana business. Because right now, I've said it on one or two of my shows, that in Trinidad, for instance, Neil Massey, who are big players in St. Lucia, they have the controlling interest in CFL today, they can actually purchase 400 tons of bananas a month. And I've been able to find an individual in Trinidad who has about 10 or 15 vessels that can carry. They're used to go to the oil rigs, and they can move anywhere from 10 to 15 containers, 20-foot containers. It takes 15 hours to get to St. Lucia. You don't even have to refrigerate them. I've told them so before. And this is something that I think a very strong team should be put together to ensure that this can take place. Because 400 tons of bananas at a price comparable or even higher than they can get in the UK. And you know, you wouldn't have to go through all those standards which the EU now requires for shelling bananas. Richard, that having been said, what would be your take on a situation like that?
Well, you know, I'm not sure exactly whether we still have a long-term future in bananas alone.
Okay.
I think that clearly market conditions will have changed that so significantly that right now Windfresh, which is still in existence,
Yes.
still makes money, makes that money buying bananas in the Dominican Republic
Yes.
and selling it to England under its quota system.
Right.
But we're not going to get the preferential arrangements
Correct.
ever.
Yeah.
And it's also very difficult in these small islands to produce the kind of quality banana that might be necessary for fair trade or supermarkets in the volumes we used to have before. But as you pointed out, if there's a good regional market, by all means.
Do you realize, know that I've just found out that Trinidad gets a lot of bananas from Ecuador?
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But then again, Ecuador's bananas are cheaper than ours.
Yes.
So as I've always said, you know, in the old days it was the English, the housewife in the supermarket that used to determine what the price should be, because they had freedom to decide whether to buy at this price or that price. And it's the price that really put us out of the business, because our cost of production was too high compared
Yes.
to. It's a little unfair because the level of wages in those countries were a lot lower, and may over the years become a lot more high.
Now you've raised a very valid point. The price took us out of business. Now, as you know, we have the STEP program, and I've advocated on more than one occasion that instead of having the STEP employees cut grass on the side of the roads, if we sent them to the banana plantations, that in itself could help reduce the cost to the farmer, even in the initial stages. Because remember too that we buy a lot from Trinidad. I think we need to sit with Trinidad and discuss them out. Look, we buy a hell of a lot of stuff from you. If we can't earn money to pay you, what's going to happen? It will affect you. So we need to look at it like a
I'm not
quid
sure.
pro quo.
Well, you know, point well taken. There may not be STEP. You know, people still have a freedom to do what they do or don't want to do. I think, you know, and the good farmers like Roland Fernan, who used to produce
Yes.
down Forest State, used to tell me that he would have to drive all over St. Lucia to get workers.
Correct.
He could not find, and the workers, unfortunately,
I want to work 4 hours a day.
Right. And so the other problem with the banana farms was productivity on the farm.
Yeah.
And you know, so getting, you know, step people from urban unemployment and putting them on farms not going to solve that problem.
Okay.
I think the ECCU's 8-point stabilization plan has looked at community-based investments in order to, as one of the issues that they wish to undertake. And I think that perhaps one of the things that we need to look at is the possibility of including in our school's curriculum that all students have to do some stint, however long, or to get them more familiar with agriculture.
That's
Whether it
right.
is, you know, quite often in a lot of countries now, sometimes they have to do a stint in the army as part of you know, of their schooling, or they have to do some kind of civic work. And I think we now need to get our kids away from just sitting in classrooms and doing theoretical stuff,
Correct.
and getting their hands dirty in manufacturing, and you know, as part of your required curriculum. Because if, you know, the sad thing is education and our culture does not lend itself towards young people saying, I want a future in agriculture. It doesn't.
Yeah.
They want to be a basketball player.
Correct.
They want to be
Instant gratification.
Yeah, instant gratification. And so they're not necessarily going to go towards that. You have to have some degree of persuasion, coercion, incentive, whatever. But unless we do that, we really have to look at agriculture now for food security,
Yeah.
for linkages with the tourism industry as the two key things, and wherever possible for export. Export is going to be the toughest of the three because of economies of scale. But the first two should be a no-brainer. The time may come in which, you know, we don't even have the money to import food,
Yeah.
and we got to eat off, you know, feed ourselves. So
Now,
to that point, you know, we need
Yeah.
clearly, it has to be a necessity situation that drives the move back into agriculture.
You know, as you're talking of export, this is another situation that's happened. We have missed the boat that tourism is an export.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
And you know, I'm a bit concerned now that the powers that be have not laid enough emphasis on that part of the industry. And we have to be extremely cautious with the taxes being placed. And by many people in St. Lucia who actually take the side of the Prime Minister or the government by saying, oh yeah, the hoteliers are getting too much, you're pampering them. But what they don't understand, hotels do two things. They create employment, and also they bring in foreign exchange. At this point in time, I think there's a large percentage of St. Lucians that don't understand what foreign exchange means. And as you rightly pointed out, if we don't earn the foreign exchange, we won't be able to buy the essential things that I need, our medication, for instance, which people talk about. And I think government needs to revisit their plan about taxing the tourism industry to the hilt, or for that matter, increasing taxes. We should not be tampering with that, because that is the one industry that's keeping us alive today. And I don't know how we can get across where we can have a proper discussion at a genuine level where governments understand, look, you know, we understand you need the money, but there are certain areas from which you cannot take it anymore because you're going to destroy that industry. Already our banana industry is gone. If our tourism industry gets affected, we're up the creek. Fred?
No, and talking about, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more, and with Richard. Richard and I see eye to eye, obviously, on, I call it a land army, in a non-militant way. Richard calls it getting the youngsters on board. It amounts to the same thing, I believe. But from the tourism angle, we're letting not only our very visible infrastructure, like roads, etc., weaken, but even the invisible, but very olfactory aspects of tourism came to mind with me yesterday when, for the first time in a while, I decided to walk around, take the route that a visiting cruise ship passenger would take getting off a ship. Starting at the gates of the dock, I walked around and I was immediately overpowered virtually in every direction I went by the smell of urine. It has got immeasurably worse over the past 10 or 15 years. I thought I was used to a certain amount. Pardon the level, the tone of the conversation. I thought I was used to a certain amount of it, but really it is so overpowering that people of delicate constitutions, I think, would run straight back on board the ship. It's these little matters that need attention. And we have to realize that unless we can make St. Lucia as attractive a destination as Curacao, which is with its pastoral houses and so on, is a beautiful place to land in, and other destinations, really our cruise ship tourism anyway is what I'm primarily talking about.
You are right.
Nowhere to go but down.
You are right on target, because about 8 months ago, I took a vessel and I went around the whole of Castries Harbour and photographed the state of the harbour, because the ordinary person driving may not notice what is going on. You go down to Latoc, for instance, where you have a set of old boats just thrown there, and all the garbage remaining coming down from the Castries River. And that can be so easily fixed, because by just filling in the area, it wouldn't stay there. When I was on the port, I think you were on the port, director on the port too, I made a comment that at the mouth of the Castries River, the Slasper should just get a cherry picker, which probably costs $100,000 and dig a hole 14 feet deep every Monday morning, and all that goes in there, because the Slasper pays out like $4 or $5 million every 4 years to get a ship from Trinidad to desilt the harbor. You know, now, as you talked about the sanitary conditions a while ago, how many St. Lucians are aware that some 12,000 gallons of raw excreta goes into the harbor daily, right in the eyes of everybody? And this is so easily convertible, because 7 or 8 years ago, I brought in Mr. Ralph Williams, one of my partners from Barbados, who could sink a treatment plant at that promontory, and all you'll get is clean water going out, or for that matter, you could use that water for gardening elsewhere, because there's also a shortage of water. And it is only a question of time before the cruise ship passengers or somebody makes a comment, and they have some international body coming down to say, hey, this is very unsanitary what's going on in the Castries Harbour. We have to take a break. This is Open Mic. We'll be right back.